Now, if you don't want to gain weight, then you may want to follow the diet of long-lived Japanese cultures, which is to eat, hi friends, I have here 2 bowls of grains. One of them has actually been shown to help people lose weight, while the other one is more likely to lead to weight gain and metabolic problems. So which one do you think it is? Which one do you think I'll eat? Actually, you don't have enough information to know which one I'll eat. However, if you can ask the right question about these foods, then you have the foundation for a sustainable weight loss plan. Let's face it, you've been very successful at losing weight. You just can't keep it off. And that's a difference between people who are always dieting versus people who are enjoying a lifestyle. Now, everybody and their grandmother seems to have a diet plan. And sure, many of them work for a little while. So why don't most of them stick? Well, today we're going to bust some myths, uncover the science, and most importantly, help you understand the one thing that every successful weight loss lifestyle has in common. And trust me, it's not what you think. So why is there so much controversy around weight loss? Well, there really isn't. But influencers, they want to make themselves unique and their diet plans special. But the key ingredient that all successful weight loss diets have in common is a reduction in calories. And it doesn't matter if it is keto, carnivore, vegan, paleo, low fat, etc. If you are losing weight, you are eating less calories than you are using up. But we all know it doesn't practically last. Most diets that cause you to cut calories also end up cutting out essential nutrients. And when your body doesn't have what it needs, it fights back. You feel hungry, you're tired, and you're miserable, which is why most diets fail. Sound familiar? And any reasonable person isn't just going to continue. They're going to change what they eat. But if you want to be successful at losing weight, this is why you have to figure out how to cut calories and get your essential nutrients on a daily basis. That's the only way to sustain a lifestyle to keep your weight off. And hence, the real secret to successful weight loss isn't just about eating less. It's about eating smart. A diet that keeps you satisfied, nourished, full of energy, but has less calories than you're eating now is the only one that will be successful and sustainable. And this is because weight loss does not mean you're getting healthier. And that's another thing people get wrong. Weight is not a perfect marker of health. It is a marker of health, just like blood pressure and heart rate. But losing or gaining weight doesn't automatically mean you're getting healthier or unhealthier. For example, we all know that muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're gaining weight because you're building muscle, well, that is actually a marker of health, unless you go overboard. You can overdo exercise and overbuild muscle. But that's a problem athletes worry about, not regular people like us. Most people aren't moving much, let alone exercising. And most people don't realize that they're one disaster away from spending a week in the ICU. And if you did that, you would lose 15% of your muscle mass in that 1 week. I have met many people who can't even walk after that and need extensive rehabilitation for months. And I've also met a few people who can do laps around the hospital after major surgery and being bedbound for weeks. Do you know the difference? The person who recovers easily, they had a lifestyle of intentional movement. They exercised before they had a catastrophe. And the people who struggle, they didn't. And now we have large populations of people taking drugs called GLP-1 agonists that make them lose weight fast. And whenever you lose weight fast, you also lose muscle mass, which is harming your metabolism. Your muscle is a #1 metabolic organ that can help you lose fat, help you reduce inflammation, help increase your mood. And so if you choose to rapidly lose weight, then it's important that you don't lose muscle. Hence, moving your muscles is an important equation in your quest to weight loss. So what does reducing the right calories, optimizing your essential nutrients, and exercise have all in common? Well, it boils down to one thing: the health of your mitochondria. That's right. Those organelles called mitochondria are those tiny powerhouses in your cell that supplies your brain with energy to think, your muscles with energy to move, your liver with energy to detox, your bones to energy to rebuild, and your skin the energy to heal. And guess who has the healthiest mitochondria in our population? Children. They have awesome mitochondria. until it's poisoned with the toxins in our food, in our water, and in our air. We were all once children. And how many times have you felt sick? Every time you feel sick, your mitochondria are not able to keep up with your demands of your lifestyle. Now, if you gain weight, your mitochondria are also getting sicker, and thus your metabolism slows down, which then makes you gain weight more. Today, we are barely surviving the sea of mitochondrial toxins. Think about our population and how most people are all getting bigger. We didn't all mutate our DNA, and we didn't start getting overweight and morbidly obese at this rate until the last 50 years. And that just so happens to parallel the rise in high fructose corn syrup. Fructose is a well-known mitochondrial toxin. Fructose metabolism occurs primarily in the liver, and when fructose enters your liver, it is rapidly phosphorylated by the enzyme fructokinase, which uses ATP, the cell's energy currency, to convert fructose into fructose 1-phosphate. Now, this step depletes ATP and intracellular phosphate stores. Now, as ATP is consumed, it generates uric acid as a byproduct. Excessive uric acid has been implicated in mitochondrial dysfunction by impairing the ability of mitochondria to produce energy efficiently. Now, fructose generates more uric acid compared to other sugars like glucose because of the excessive ATP consumption and purine metabolism it triggers. This makes fructose a unique stressor of energy metabolism. Uric acid is a trash that directly impairs mitochondrial function by promoting oxidative stress. It inhibits the activity of mitochondrial enzymes involved in energy production. Uric acid decreases the expression of PPAR gamma coactivator 1 alpha, a key regulator of mitochondrial biogenesis. And that means it inhibits the production of more mitochondria. So then you have less mitochondria, leaving cells with fewer mitochondria, and the ones that are left over are less functional. And so you have a perfect slowing of metabolism. Uric acid interferes with the mitochondrial's ability to also oxidize fatty acid. So this forces a body to store fats rather than to burn them for energy. This then contributes to fat accumulation and metabolic disorders like obesity and insulin resistance. Uric acid inhibits endothelial nitric oxide synthase, reducing nitric oxide levels. Nitric oxide is critical for vascular health and glucose uptake by cells. So this contributes to reduced blood flow and impaired insulin signaling, both of which exacerbate insulin resistance. High uric acid levels trigger inflammation in the tissues like the liver and adipose tissue. Chronic inflammation worsens insulin resistance and accelerates the development of what is known as metabolic syndrome. The excess production of reactive oxygen species, it further damages mitochondrial membranes, it damages proteins and DNA, and it further compromises your body's ability to generate energy efficiently. And on top of all that, the products of fructose metabolism, such as glyceride 3-phosphate and dihydroacetone phosphate, they're shunted into pathways that create triglycerides or fats. Triglyceride is actually trapped in the liver. So this leads to fat accumulation in the liver or fatty liver disease. And over time, the stress on your mitochondria from processing these excess substrates can lead to excessive mitochondrial damage, which reduces your ability to produce energy. Fructose metabolism also bypasses key regulatory steps, leading to an unchecked production of fat. This fat accumulates in your liver and in your muscles, which further impairs insulin signaling and promotes insulin resistance. So unlike glucose, fructose does not stimulate the release of insulin or leptin, a hormone that signals your body that you are full. And as a result, consuming fructose can lead to overeating because your body doesn't recognize it as being satisfied. And excessive fructose leads to the pot-belly gut or visceral fat accumulation in the gut. And these processes are key drivers of metabolic syndrome, which includes obesity, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, otherwise known as prediabetes and diabetes. And by the way, fructose consumption, it increases the levels of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, making you more likely to eat additional calories. And this can lead to a vicious cycle of overeating and gaining weight. Americans are consuming far more added fructose, basically an added sugar, table sugar, than their bodies can metabolize without adverse effects. And this is all done through processed foods. Now, don't confuse the fructose in whole fruits, which does not have all these detrimental effects because when you eat a whole fruit, that fructose is diluted with water. It is trapped in a fiber matrix. It's accompanied by antioxidants with essential vitamins and minerals, and the end result is that that fructose is released slowly in so small amounts that your gut microbiome actually metabolizes the fructose in fruit so that you may never even see it enter your bloodstream. And this is why a diet rich in whole fruits helps people to lose weight, lowers cholesterol, reverses insulin resistance, and is healthy for people with gout, diabetes, and it is vital for people with fatty livers. But when you concentrate the fructose or sugars with fructose in processed foods, whether it's your morning coffee or a soda or a Slurpee or granola bar, cereal, bread, ketchup, or barbecue sauce, you have now created chemicals that are not only easily absorbed, but they easily poison your mitochondria. Honey, agave syrup, fruit juice concentrates, and these other all-natural sweeteners also contain significant amounts of fructose. Now, while fructose may seem to provide energy, it actually depletes energy in the short term due to its ATP consumption, and it promotes fat storage, leading to an overall chronic energy imbalance. If you think about it, people in the 1950s, they were normal in size, much smaller than we are today. And I find it fascinating that morbid obesity have existed for centuries, yet has never become mainstream until we worked out all the essential nutrients. And then we created all these processed foods. And then we added all this processed fructose. Now, we now have accelerated mitochondrial toxicity to cause morbid obesity. And this all happened after big tobacco took over our food supply. And believe it or not, ancient cultures, they have always worked out the science to create morbid obese athletes. They're called sumo wrestlers. So they figured out how to poison their mitochondria to make them morbidly obese. Alcohol. Sumo wrestlers drink beer and sake with their meals. Alcohol, ethanol, and fructose, they share striking similarities in how they affect the mitochondria and metabolism. Alcohol is a byproduct of sugar fermentation, and alcohol is primarily metabolized in the liver through two key enzymes. Number one, alcohol dehydrogenase converts ethanol to acetaldehyde, a highly toxic compound. Acetaldehyde is a reactive molecule that damages mitochondria, damages proteins, lipids, DNA. It promotes the production of reactive oxygen species, leading to oxidative stress that impairs mitochondrial function and induces cell death, called apoptosis. Acetaldehyde dehydrogenase then converts acetaldehyde into acetate, which is further metabolized in the mitochondria. Now, these reactions generate NADH, increasing the NADH over NAD plus ratio in the cell. And this imbalance inhibits mitochondrial processes such as beta oxidation of fatty acids, leading to fat buildup. And this impairs the citric acid cycle, which impairs energy production. Now, the inhibition of fatty acid oxidation caused by alcohol metabolism forces the liver to store fats as triglyceride, contributing to fatty liver disease. And this is a similar process seen with excess fructose consumption. When the mitochondria are damaged by alcohol, they are less able to produce ATP, leading to a cellular energy deficit crisis. Chronic alcohol consumption reduces mitochondrial biogenesis, leaving cells with fewer mitochondria to meet energy demands. Alcohol induces inflammation in the liver, further damaging mitochondria and impairing insulin signaling, much like fructose. Alcohol and fructose are metabolized almost exclusively in the liver, unlike glucose, which is used by most tissues in the body. Both compounds bypass key regulatory steps in metabolism, leading to uncontrolled fat production. Alcohol consumption leads to alcoholic fatty liver disease, while excessive fructose intake leads to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. They both share the same root cause: mitochondrial dysfunction and impaired fat metabolism.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
Now, the thing is, sumo wrestlers are still in occupation today, but the entire population of Japan is 25% overweight, unlike Americans, which are 74% overweight. So the recipe to gaining weight is very simple. Eat a sumo diet. Drink a ton of alcohol, don't move after you eat, and eat a ton of calories in refined carbohydrates and meats. Does that sound like your diet? Now, if you don't want to gain weight, then you may want to follow the diet of long-lived Japanese cultures, which is to eat until you're 75% full and eat lots of whole, fresh plants. But unless you're living in Japan, I can see that it's a little hard to eat their exact foods. But the basic principles, they still apply to all cultures, no matter what part of the world they live in. And that is to avoid mitochondrial toxins and eat foods that help your mitochondria thrive, rich in fiber, hydration, and antioxidants. What makes your mitochondria sick? Here are the top 10 major culprits. Number 1, saturated fat. Whether you eat that directly in meat or coconut oil, or you make your body make saturated fat from overeating calories. Number 2, chronic stresses, which elevates cortisol levels, and cortisol will also help you pack on fat. Number 3, processed foods, especially ones loaded with trans fats and sugars. Now, if a tobacco company is making your food, you may want to think twice about eating it. Number 4, nutrient deficiencies like magnesium, selenium, vitamin B1, and vitamin B2, which people still struggle to get enough of. People don't realize nobody's going to serve all these essential nutrients on a platter for you. You have to seek them out in a variety of foods. But the way that society is growing food and producing food today, everything is less nutritious, so you have to eat more to make up for those micronutrient deficiencies. And that's why sometimes we just have to take a supplement. Now, number 5 is inflammation, especially when you're eating high levels of omega-6 fats. Did you know that high levels of omega-6 fats can actually cause liver inflammation when we infuse it intravenously? Hence the need to eat more omega-3 essential fats. And that means reducing your vegetable oils and increasing omega-3 products like walnuts. Now, environmental toxins and pollutants, we should all avoid them. And hence you should always wash everything that you bring home, because anything can collect both. Now, metals are especially detrimental, especially heavy metals, whether that's in your soil, water, or air. And this is why you need to know where your food is grown. So if you're a big dark chocolate fan, then you should know where your cocoa beans are from, because they collect a lot of cadmium. And then they may be drying in lead polluted air. So this is why you need to know the source of where your food is coming from. Now, sleep deprivation is something we all struggle with, because so many things in this modern world compete for our attention every day. And it takes intention to get us to avoid these dopamine attracting activities when it's close to our bedtime. Now, hence, we got to go back to the Little House on the Prairie days and just read books before bedtime. Now you know what causes insulin resistance. And just by cutting out alcohol or cutting out processed food products with fructose and exercising, you can significantly reverse your insulin resistance. And the lack of movement, well, that is just a chronic cyclic problem, because processed foods encourage us to be sedentary. And as a result, everybody has poor gut health, because when you're eating processed foods, they have processed out that fiber, and hence the benefit of eating whole fruit and avoiding unnecessary antibiotics. So let's talk about these 2 bowls of grains. Now this, I'm sure you can tell, is white rice. In this bowl, I have quinoa, I have buckwheat, and I have oat groats. Now, the reason why this has been associated with weight gain and this as whole grains has actually been helping people to lose weight is because this is full of fiber and micronutrients, and this bowl is deficient of fiber and micronutrients. There is no fructose in either of these bowls. So when you eat grain, you're not eating any fructose. But if your metabolism and your mitochondria has already been damaged, then that means you're insulin resistant. So if you eat any of these starches, it will elevate your blood sugars. This one will elevate your blood sugars much higher than eating a bowl of whole grains. And this is because when you're eating whole grains, it takes time for your body to metabolize these whole grains. Your gut microbiome also converts the fiber in these grains into short-chain fatty acids to then helps you reduce inflammation, repair your gut health, and it helps you to poop. It prevents constipation. So between these 2, this will actually help your mitochondria repair itself, because it's full of antioxidants. Not only in the fiber, because that's where you're going to find the antioxidants. That's why these little specks, this color, are the antioxidants. They are different molecules like polyphenols that can help to reduce the oxidative stress that your mitochondria is undergoing, trying to detoxify all the other foods that you've been eating in the past. So if you avoid mitochondrial toxins, you will be able to more easily digest and metabolize both of these actually so much better, even though that this is starch. And the reason is because glucose is not a mitochondrial toxin. Remember, the mitochondrial toxin is fructose, saturated fat, heavy metals, not exercising, not sleeping well, like all those things that I listed, those are the mitochondrial toxins. Now, if starch was the only thing that you did eat, you would not gain weight. And it's because you have now removed the mitochondrial toxins. And this was proven with the rice diet, where people were put basically plain rice and they got some supplements. It wasn't the best diet because they actually didn't supplement properly. So some people didn't actually make it. But we do know if you limit your carbohydrates, you can still lose weight. So now you know that there are 10 common mitochondrial toxins. So when you listen to people on social media and they're telling you to eat something with saturated fat, you know you're eating a mitochondrial toxin, even though you may be eating other healthy things, right? So if you wanted to lose weight and be healthy, then it's important to avoid those mitochondrial toxins. Because when your mitochondria are damaged, they will struggle to process energy efficiently. That means you can't metabolize these. And this leads to higher levels of fat storage and insulin resistance. Insulin is really the key hormone to gain weight or to lose weight. And this was proven by people who can't make any insulin or people with type 1 diabetes. They struggle to gain weight until they are replaced with insulin. And when insulin was discovered, that was a lifeline for people with type 1 diabetes. Hence, if you have type 1 diabetes and you're overweight, you're not eating right because you're using way too much insulin for your lifestyle. And the way to reduce your insulin is to change your food quality into whole foods, plant-based, low in saturated fat so that you don't need all that insulin. And you should work with your own medical doctor to figure out how to do that. The discovery and mass production of insulin was a miracle. In 1922, the first patient to receive insulin injections was actually a 14-year-old boy named Leonard Thompson. He had severe type 1 diabetes, and he was given a second chance at life. Before insulin, Leonard weighed just 65 pounds. And after he got insulin, Leonard gained 14 pounds. Now, before insulin was invented, the only treatment was a starvation diet, which aimed to extend people's life, but often left patients malnourished and weak. He was on a starvation diet, which resembled a ketogenic diet in many ways because it drastically reduced carbohydrate intake, but the difference is it also limited caloric consumption. And this diet, it temporarily keeps blood glucose levels low, but can cause extreme malnutrition, weight loss, and weakness. So obviously, the starvation diet was unsustainable, especially for children, as they left them emaciated and vulnerable to infections. Now, everyone with type 1 diabetes, they can't make insulin. So they will struggle to gain weight until they get some insulin. Now, because of the low carbohydrate intake, the body would enter ketosis, relying on fat for energy and producing ketone bodies as a byproduct. Now, normally, people still make some insulin no matter what diet you're on. And so that little bit of insulin controls the amount of ketone because insulin shuts off ketone production. That's why it's important to have insulin to regulate the amount of ketones you make. Because if you don't have insulin, you can potentially make excessive ketones. This can lead to ketoacidosis, which is a dangerous metabolic state that occurs when the body produces excessive ketones. This causes the blood to become acidic. Now, people with type 1 diabetes, they can't make insulin, and therefore they can easily go into ketoacidosis. And before insulin, Leonard lived on the brink of ketoacidosis as his body lacked insulin to fully regulate ketone production. Unfortunately, this still happens. It's known as diabetic ketoacidosis. And this happens when there is little to no insulin in the body, leading to an uncontrolled breakdown of fats and proteins for energy. Hence, people with type 1 diabetes, they need to constantly inject insulin in their system. Now, the problem with metabolizing fats are the ketones, which in large amounts can cause a significant drop in blood pH. And when you have excessive ketones, you get nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, rapid breathing, you have a fruity smelling breath, and confusion. And if left untreated, ketoacidosis can lead to severe dehydration, organ failure, coma, and even death. And unlike nutritional ketosis, which is a controlled and safer process when people eat low-carb diets, ketoacidosis is a medical emergency requiring immediate treatment with insulin, fluids, and electrolyte management. Unfortunately, Leonard only lived another 13 years, and he passed at the age of 27 from pneumonia, a common complication of diabetes even today. And getting pneumonia is an immunity issue. Many people get pneumonia, whether you have insulin resistance or not. So if you want to know how to boost your immunity, watch the next video.